sentence you to life in confinement without parole.
That's f***ing horse shit. You do whatever the f*** you want.
Why are they shutting my mic off?
I'm the federal witness of the United States federal government. I demand some goddamn respect, you. All I did was trespass on property.
Ma'am, you gotta create the community that you want to live in.
I have created a Patreon page for those of you who want to support my channel. All patrons will receive access to the new private Bond Court Discord server. All video content will remain on my YouTube channel for free. Supporting me on Patreon is not required, but it is greatly appreciated. Thank you to everyone for watching my channel, liking my videos, and leaving comments. Bond Court is now in session.
Okay, and I'm going to be reading off the electronic calendar. Position 1, State of Georgia. Well, for the record, today is June 1st, 2022. This is the 8:30 morning preliminary hearing calendar. My name is Brad Gardner. I'm going to be presiding over these cases. I'm going to make the announcements or call a calendar now, and I'm going to ask all parties to make whatever relevant announcement that they need to make. Position number 1 is State of Georgia versus Felipe Alberto Rodriguez.
So she's out on bond.
Okay. Position number 3 is State of Georgia versus Derek Anderson.
Judge, on we're asking that it be rescheduled if we can't work it out. That officer is out and we don't have a date when he'll return. And I don't want to say why he's out via on YouTube, but he's out.
That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Who's representing Mr. Anderson?
This is Attorney Hill for Mr. Anderson, Judge Gardner. I believe me and Ms. Freeman are going to be able to work that out. Yeah, it's more likely going to be a consent bond.
Okay, so I'll mark this as a pretrial with state.
Thank you, Judge.
Okay. Position number, let's see. Position number 4, State of Georgia versus April Barrow.
The state's ready.
And who's representing?
Judge, that's my case.
Okay.
And if I could get a breakout room with Miss Barrow, I'll be able to, I believe we'll resolve this with a waiver. But I need to talk to her first.
Okay, I'm marking that as pretrial with state. Well, with your client and then the state, sorry.
Okay.
Position number 7, State of Georgia versus Michael Billingsley.
State's ready.
Your Honor, if Mr. Billingsley has not hired, I would need a continuance on that case. His visit with me was canceled, and I'm not certain why.
Okay.
I don't know if anyone's reached out to the state with the representation for him.
Right, I don't have any notice of another attorney. So if it has to be continued, we wouldn't have an objection, Judge.
Okay. Position number 13, State of Georgia versus Alonza Body.
State's ready.
Your Honor,
Yes.
Mr. Body has advised that he's willing to allow me to represent him. So that will be a hearing this morning.
Okay. Okay, position number 14, State of Georgia versus Corey Leon Kendall Bray.
State's ready.
His video visit was also canceled with me, but if I can get a moment to speak with him pre-try it just to verify whether he's hired or not, Your Honor.
Okay. Position 17, State of Georgia versus Junior Brooks.
State's ready.
Your Honor, Melvin Williams on behalf of Mr. Brooks, we're ready.
Okay.
And Judge, you may want to also mark that for a pretrial. I can let Mr. Williams know of a bond rec just in case. But I'll also say that one of those co-defendants is represented by Chris Tolles. Mr. Tolles is on leave and asks that it be rescheduled. So certainly if the cases have to be hearings, we would ask that they all be rescheduled for the same day. But Mr. Tolles did send me an email, and I think he also sent Ms. Marion the same email.
Okay.
He did.
Okay, so
Just mark it pretrial for now.
Yes,
Mr.
ma'am.
Williams. Mhm.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Position 19, State of Georgia versus Anthony Bruce.
The state's ready.
Yeah, here you go.
Renee, you need to mute yourself.
Sorry. Sorry.
No, I thought she was coming in as that was her case. Who's representing Mr. Bruce?
That'd be me, Your Honor. It's gonna be a hearing.
Okay. Position 27, State of Georgia versus Jerome Butler.
That was a bond, or that will be a bond this morning.
Okay, thank you. Position 31, State of Georgia versus Quitavious Carter.
The state's ready. And he has a co-defendant, Roberto Gomez.
Okay,
And I represent Mr. Carter. That's gonna be a hearing.
okay. Position number 34, State of Georgia versus Megan Chambers.
That's a bond this morning.
Thank you. Position 36, State of Georgia versus Charles Cooper.
State's ready.
Good morning, judges. It's Rhonda Hill for Mr. Cooper. I'd like to pre-try that with the defendant.
Okay. Position 39, State of Georgia versus Sylvester Craig.
State's ready.
It's gonna be a hearing.
Position 41, State of Georgia versus Joshua Curry.
Your Honor, that officer is out on annual leave through June 10th. And so if we can't get it resolved, we're asking that it be rescheduled.
Yeah, and I would move to dismiss. I think this is definitely the second time that we've been here about this. So at this point, yeah, I would be moving to dismiss for one of prosecution, yeah. Especially since I spoke with the victim and she does not, or the alleged victim, she doesn't want any parts of the prosecution. So I'd ask to dismiss. Thank you.
You're so polite this morning, Mr. Rogers. What's going on?
You know, just trying to increase the level of civility in society if I can. At a time.
You don't want to pre-try that with Ms. Freeman?
Just Mr. Rogers and I have talked about it, and it has been on the calendar before.
Okay.
Mhm.
We'll address it when we get to it.
Thank you.
Position number 45, State of Georgia versus Cassandra Davis.
That's a fast track this morning.
Thank you.
Sorry, Rhonda Hill for Ms. Davis. Ms. Freeman, let's hold off on that. Let me pre-try that with her real quick. Remember, I had that little caveat that I had to inquire about for her.
Okay.
Okay, but
All right.
probably will be. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So, Ms. Hill, you're saying you want to speak to your client?
Yes, before I confirm that's a fast track.
Okay.
Thank you.
Position 52, State of Georgia versus Arthur Ellis.
Judge, that's mine. I just need a brief pretrial with my client. I got a
Okay.
recommendation from Ms. Freeman. I'm running by him.
And Judge, what I will say, so Ellis, one of Mr. Ellis's charges is a VGCSA. He has a co-defendant, Jerome Office. That officer, Officer Fleming, is on annual leave through June 6th. And the other officer on Mr. Ellis, the sexual battery is actually a misdemeanor, but and we don't have that officer either. I'm hoping that we can get them resolved today, but if not, then I'll be requesting a continuance.
And the VGCSA, is that misdemeanor possession of marijuana?
No,
It's
no, it's a felony. Yes,
Okay.
it's the co-defendant to Jerome Office.
Okay.
Your Honor, if I may, I would ask for a dismissal of both. I'm going to talk to my client anyway, depending on what the court decides. But
Right, but Judge, the sexual battery, like I said, is actually a misdemeanor that should be on a misdemeanor calendar. But it was one of those that if we were able to resolve it, I was going to do the bond, but in lieu that we don't have the officer, I mean, that one should be on the state court, I mean, on misdemeanor calendar anyway.
Okay, with the sexual battery, because I see it's a CW and a WA for the
Mhm.
VGCSA. So
Right. So the sexual battery really should be on a misdemeanor calendar. But if we were able to do a bond, I was going to go ahead and do the bond, but it should be on a state court, a misdemeanor calendar.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So do you want me to move it, Cheryl, or you want me to wait?
I know Attorney Schoolcraft has moved for dismissal. So for the misdemeanor, move him to a misdemeanor calendar. And then that way, Judge Gardner, you only have to make the decision regarding the BGCSA.
Unless you and Mr. Schoolcraft reach an understanding.
Right. I've given him bond recommendations already.
yeah, I'm going to talk to my client as well, Judge, but
Okay. And Miss Freeman.
Mm-hmm. So we can hold off and see what his client wants to do. And Judge, also, the juvenile detention center is on. They can have their video off. That's juvenile Roberto Gomez. And I don't think he needs to just be his video. Yeah, doesn't need to be on while we're on YouTube right now.
Okay.
They took the video off.
Okay. I just saw it, and thank you for telling me that, because I'm looking now, doing my best to try to read these small words on this paper.
Right. And Judge, and I don't know if the juvenile needed the interpreter or not.
Well, let's hope
He does
not.
not. He speaks English. He speaks English.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Position.
Say his mother does.
I'm sorry, Miss.
I was gonna say, I think he speaks English.
Okay. Thank you. Position number 54, State of Georgia versus Jack James Efron.
The state's ready.
I see Miss Pass listed as the lawyer, but I don't see Miss Pass.
Right. I don't see Miss Pass either. And she hasn't contacted me about this case.
Okay. She was on my misdemeanor calendar yesterday.
I
try to get in touch with Renee. Let me try to understand that. Get her.
Okay, thank you, Miss Mary. Position 55, State of Georgia versus Peter Finney.
That's a bond.
Okay. Position 56, State of Georgia versus Demetrius Jovan Monta Gaines.
State's ready.
Rhonda Hill for Mr. Gaines. That's going to be a hearing.
Okay.
He is one of the co-defendants, though, I believe, to like Christopher Williams.
He is. Mm-hmm.
Position 58, State of Georgia versus Roberto Gomez.
State's ready. And that's the co-defendant to Quatavius Carter.
Judge, this is Stan Schoolcraft. I've got Mr. Gomez. I would request a continuance. As I said, I just got this case last Friday. And I didn't have an opportunity to talk to my client. And since he is a juvenile, it's all the more reason that I need to get a little bit more time.
Okay. What's your position?
Well, the state doesn't have an objection. I know the co-defendant is represented by Mr. Rogers. And so I'm not sure if he will consent to another continuance and we can hear the two on the same day. But Mr. Rogers represents Quatavius Carter.
I mean, yeah, I don't have an objection, obviously, to Mr. Schoolcraft's continuance. I don't have any real objection to the continuance of both at this point.
Okay. Then I'm leaning towards granting that, but we'll come back to it at the appropriate time. Position 61, State of Georgia versus Howard Graham.
Your Honor, that officer is out on, I know that was going to be a hearing with Ms. Pleasant, but that officer is actually out on leave. We don't know, and I don't want to say what type of leave for violating HIPAA, but we're not sure when she's going to be back.
Okay.
And Your Honor, I would need to ask for a dismissal at this point. It's been previously continued for this officer. It was my understanding that there was going to be an effort to get someone else to stand in her place. But that has not occurred. And so I would be moving for dismissal at this point.
Okay. I'll come back with that at the appropriate time and hear arguments. And I may, Ms. Freeman, with respect to this, place yourself and myself, Ms. Pleasant, in a breakout room to have a conversation about this, because these are serious charges.
Yes, Judge.
And I'm gonna need to understand kind of what's going on. Position 68, State of Georgia versus Mackenzie Lamart Haggerty.
The state's ready, and that's a co-defendant to Kajon Jackson and Junior Brooks.
And Judge, he was assigned to me when I went to meet with him. He said that he hired a private attorney. When I asked for the attorney's name, his response was that his mama told him not to talk to me.
Oh my goodness. All right. So at the end of the caller calendar, I may want to bring Mr. Haggerty up and see if he's willing to speak to me. Position number 70 is Miles Haggerty.
State's
No,
ready.
that's my case, Judge. I just need a few minutes with Mr. Haggerty. I got a recommendation from Ms. Freeman, but I need to speak with him at a breakout room.
Okay. Position number 72, Jasmine Hurd. And this was continued.
Yes, and that's the co-defendant to Danielle. Moose, the state's ready.
It's listed Alfonso Kraft, but my recollection is that this person was unrepresented at the time.
Right, I think it was supposed to be conflicted out.
They're still unrepresented, Your Honor, both of them.
I'm sorry, Ms. Davis.
I said they're still unrepresented, both of them, Moose and Hurd. They have not been given an attorney.
Judge, the note I have is that on Ms. Hurd is that she still didn't have an attorney as of May 23rd. So I don't know what they're doing. I'm assuming that Orlando is reassigning the cases or assigning the cases, and it just hasn't been done.
Judge, we might need to talk about that off YouTube.
Yes, we will. I made phone calls after the last time.
And Judge, a new announcement on Howard Graham. Even though the officer is out, she is available to testify.
Okay, on Graham?
Yes.
Okay. So, Ms. Pleasant, that's going to be a hearing?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
So Judge, regarding her and Moose, I'm not sure how the court wants to handle. You continued it the last time, placed it back on your calendar, hoping that it would be enough time. Only thing I know to do now is because since Your Honor is kind of familiar with it and knows what's going on, I'm not sure when your next calendar is, but to continue both cases again and place them on your calendar.
I don't know what I'm gonna do. I have to think about it. I'm
Okay.
upset about this because my recollection is that these two ladies have been in custody since November, unrepresented. And I can't place the state at a disadvantage, but we'll talk about it.
Okay.
We'll talk about it. Position number 77, State of Georgia versus Kawan Amir Jackson.
He's a co-defendant. That's the one represented by Chris Tolles. He's on leave and has asked that it be continued.
Okay. I'm inclined to grant that. We'll see. Position 79, State of Georgia versus Keon Jones.
Judge, that officer is actually in training. through June 3rd. And so if we cannot get it resolved, we would ask that it be rescheduled.
Okay. Whose case is that?
That'd be me. I'll move to dismiss, but I'll also speak with Mr. Jones this morning.
Okay.
I think it's the first time on the calendar.
I wouldn't dispute
It's
that.
just,
Yeah, I can't dispute that. I think that's correct.
And Ms. Rogers, just to make certain, you're saying you want to speak to Mr. Jones?
Just in case it doesn't get dismissed, but I always like to apprise my clients of what's going on.
Okay. Okay, that's fine. I just because besides the calendar, I gotta make notes so that I can try to keep myself abreast of what's going on.
Understood. I would say my main note then, if I respectfully, would be a motion to dismiss for warrant prosecution.
Okay.
It is the first time on the calendar though, Judge.
Okay. Position number 81, State of Georgia versus Samari Cora.
He's represented by Attorney Khalil Edie. The state's ready, and the attorney did say he had a motion at 9 in person in Gwinnett, and he has to behold his announcement. What I will say regarding our officer, we are ready, but he does have an 11:30 a.m. appointment that cannot be rescheduled, and so hopefully the attorney will be back in time before our officer is no longer available.
Okay, Ms. Freeman, keep that in the fore part of your mind, so that if and when this officer becomes available, we roll into a hearing.
Okay.
Okay. Position number 83, State of Georgia versus Raymond Lewis.
The state's ready.
It's going to be a hearing.
Okay. Position 85, State of Georgia versus Jawara Carmen Milliner.
Judge, regarding this case, that officer is no longer with CCPD. And as of today, we don't have anyone else lined up to testify. So we would ask that be rescheduled. I think it may have been on the calendar before. I need to check to see him, but we haven't been able to get in touch with that officer, and he is no longer with CCPD.
Okay.
That's me, I represent Mr. Milliner. I would ask for a dismissal for warrant prosecution. I anticipate there's going to be a hearing at last check, so I would definitely, in light of the state's uncertainty, and really based on, and if the court would like to discuss this later, but based on the allegations, I think it's kind of an injustice at this point to hold Mr. Milliner indefinitely, which is essentially what the government is currently asking for if they don't have any kind of deadline and requesting basically indefinite detention, which unless this is Guantanamo, that's not acceptable, you know. So I would ask for a dismissal for warrant prosecution. And I was just trying to see exactly, looks like Mr. Milliner has been in since April the 15th, according to the sheriff's information here, April the 15th. So even if it is the first time, I would say that there's been plenty of time to establish either a replacement or to find out where the officer is, whatever the case may be.
Okay. When we get to it, I'm gonna take it under consideration. It says battery of school personnel. Is this?
That's not correct. I don't know why it comes up school personnel. It's a battery and it's an ag assault. The ag assault, for whatever reason, wasn't printed on the calendar, but there's also an ag assault.
Okay.
So that's correct.
Okay.
So we would, and I think this is the first time it's on the calendar. It hasn't been on here before. And so we would ask for one-time reset.
Okay, I'm gonna take all of that into account. But if the officer is no longer with CCP,
I'm not sure if the officer went to another law enforcement agency, which is what we're finding to happen, but that's the information that my legal assistant gave me.
okay.
Mhm.
And let me ask you this question, Ms. Freeman. If I were to theoretically dismiss this case, wouldn't that free your office up to do a direct indictment if that's what you're intending to do if you're going to prosecute the case?
For any cases that are dismissed at the preliminary hearing stage, district attorney's office has the option to still present it to the grand jury.
And correct me if I'm wrong, because I think you've told me this before, but if I were to continue the case, your office, because of how the internal procedures work in Clayton County, your office would not be able to proceed with a direct indictment.
Wait, I'm sorry. Wait, say that one more time, Judge.
Okay, I'm sorry. So my understanding is that because of how things work, as long as a case is pending in magistrate court, your office can't just pick up the file and just go to a grand jury. Is that correct? I know it's possible.
It's possible. I mean, it is not the normal procedure, but I mean, I know there have been, murder cases or, cases that have been investigated where the case was indicted before it was on a preliminary hearing calendar.
Okay. And what I'm trying to avoid is just cases just languishing or sitting around in magistrate court, and moving the cases along for an ultimate disposition, whatever that disposition may be. So I thought, and I could be wrong because I don't know, but I thought that I'd heard at one point that as long as a case is pending in magistrate court, whether it's the solicitor's office or the DA's office, they're not going to touch the case until it gets transferred over to either state court or superior court.
I'm not going to say that is 100% certainty. Like I said, there are cases, like I said, that have been presented to the grand jury. They have not gone to a preliminary hearing. I don't believe that's the normal course because the majority of cases come through magistrate court first. But I'm not going to say that it just absolutely won't be touched.
Oh, okay. And I was just asking for a point of clarification.
Right. No, I understand, Judge.
Yeah. Position 86, State of Georgia versus Danielle Chanel Moose.
And Judge, that's the co-defendant to Jasmine Hurd.
And I'm assuming Miss Moose doesn't have counsel either.
As of May 25th, I just talked to Miss Skalls in Atlanta, and she told me that neither one of either Jasmine Hurd or Danielle Moose has been assigned an attorney. It's not her responsibility to do it, but she does know about the case.
So Miss Hurd and Miss Moose have been in custody for 8 months.
That I can't say, Judge.
Well, I know they've been in custody since I think either October 31st or November 1st. They let me ask you this, Mr. Schoolcraft, and I know this is not your job. Would you want to sit in jail for 8 months? Not.
Judge, I'm just the messenger.
Hold on.
Who would want to sit in jail for 8 months if they didn't have to? No one.
Mr. Schoolcraft, let me ask the question first.
Okay.
If you would not want to sit in jail for 8 months without having a lawyer sign, why should these young ladies sit in jail for 8 months?
Judge, I mean, like I said, it's way above my pay grade. There's no reason they should. I just don't know what's going on. I'm just passing on the message.
Well, I'm telling you, I'm gonna bring. I have the power to bring all these people down that are supposed to answer these questions under the threat of contempt, and they can bring their toothbrush and their toothpaste and be prepared to go sit in jail, and maybe they can talk to these young ladies while they're sitting in jail with them.
Well, Judge, one of your options is certainly, if you want to review both of them, you can certainly grant these young ladies a bond. And because it would not be a consent bond, it would not necessarily also include a waiver since they aren't represented. But Your Honor can grant a bond in addition to putting them on another calendar.
And you know,
so that's certainly an option at this point, because they aren't represented by counsel. I'm just trying to provide the court with an option. Just and also, if you want to, I would say continue to call it a calendar, and at the end of the calendar, it may be something that you, like you said, you may want to, think about what anything else that you may be able to do.
And I appreciate that, Ms. Freeman. And
Judge, I'm going to reach out to try to get Attorney Scall to get on so that we can go in a breakout room to find out what's going on.
Well, Miss Mary, I'm telling you, I'm inclined to release these two ladies today. And I do take my job seriously as to public safety. And I see the charges, but I haven't heard anything about this, and I really don't know much about it. So I do take my obligation seriously about protecting the public, but also it's no reason that these ladies should have been sitting in jail since November with no lawyers. And Mr. Schoolcraft, I'm not blaming you. I'm not blaming Ms. Scall. I can't stomach that.
Judge, I can understand that. I think it's appalling. Unfortunately, it's like I said, it's above my pay grade at this point in time.
Yeah.
But I did want to make sure that you knew what was going on. That's why I got in touch with Ms. Scall.
And I do appreciate it. But I'll tell you, Ms. Freeman, I'm inclined at this point to give both of these ladies a $1 bond for each charge. And I'm gonna have to think about it. But I'm gonna make a decision before we're done.
The judge.
Yes.
Just to weigh in on what you just said, just so you know, the sheriff's gonna put $200 on each charge. So even if you did that, there'd also be $200 added per charge, more than likely, just so you know.
I'm sorry, I heard $200, but I didn't understand.
I just want you to be aware that the sheriff, if there's a bond on the case, the sheriff as a fee generally is going to put 10% of the bond amount, and then they're going to add $200 per charge. So I just wanted to make sure the court was aware of that if they decided to pursue that avenue.
Okay. Position 91, State of Georgia versus Brian Morton.
Judge, this officer, I'm sorry, I was gonna say this officer is on annual leave through June 4th. And so if I can't get it resolved, I'm asking that it be rescheduled.
Till June 4th.
Yes, Judge.
Well, I'm sorry, just the leave part. Is that one of your cases, Mr. Schoolcraft?
It is, Judge.
Okay, and
I do have an offer to talk to him about as far as a bond goes.
Okay.
And I'll be glad to do that. And again, I don't have an objection to a continuance.
Okay. Position 94, State of Georgia versus Jerome Montel Office Senior.
And Judge, that was the co-defendant to, which one was that one? Where I said the officer was on annual leave through June 6th.
Mm-hmm.
They also had the sexual battery that Attorney Schoolcraft has. And so again, the officer is on annual leave. So we're asking that it be rescheduled if we can't work it out.
Your Honor, that's my case. I would move to dismiss for one of prosecution, Your Honor. Partly because this stemmed from an unlawful stop. For those reasons, Your Honor, I would argue that Mr. Officer's detention has been unlawful from the beginning. And this would just continue to prolong an unlawful detention. So for those reasons, Your Honor, I would ask that this case would be dismissed for one of prosecution, as it was going to be a hearing most likely.
Okay. Position 97, Amadou Talley or Taylor.
The state's ready, and that's with Attorney Rockwell.
Hi, Judge.
Hi.
Can I make an announcement for Karen Bass also real quick? I've reached her, sent her all the information. She's in another Zoom and she's gonna sign in.
Hold on one second, Ms. Rockwell. This was a case that I think we continued to this calendar.
It
Yes,
is.
sir.
And was it, there's going to be some type of trying to work something out?
May I announce on that, Judge? He, first of all, the last time we thought he had been transferred somewhere, he actually had to go to Grady because he had a heart attack or something. I'm not sure. He's got more than one issue, although it looks like a bunch of consecutive warrants.
Mm-hmm.
I represent him actually on the drug case. I've spoken with Madam Prosecutor. She's given me a very generous offer, but I think he has an ICE hold, and we are hoping at some point to get a lab test back. It looked like it was contraband, but actually I've done some research, and it's some ground up roots from some African tree, the baobab tree, and unfortunately, it takes a little while to get a lab test back. So we are in hopes that this substance becomes not so problematic for him. He does have some fraud case that I don't represent him on. He does have bonds on all of those cases. I can stand down and figure out how the state wants to proceed forward on everything, but I'm here and I'm announcing ready on the drug case. If we could figure out who's representing him on the fraud case, that might be helpful also. But he's not really going anywhere, doesn't want to go anywhere because of his problems with immigration.
ICE hold. And that was what I think you were explaining to me before, that there is something related to immigration, and you didn't want to waive anything, but you were trying to work things out because of the immigration status. Is that correct?
That's correct, Judge.
Okay.
So
go
so
ahead.
Judge, with that, I'm not sure if Ms. Rockwell is saying that she only represents him on the drug case, but see, he has a drug case and fraud case. So I'm not sure if she's saying the public defender should represent him on that. And if that's the case, I don't know if anyone in the public defender's office has spoken to him. I'm just not sure how that's supposed to be.
Ms. Rockwell?
I'm not sure. I was contacted by his family, Judge, when he was arrested for the drug case. And it seems like after he was arrested on the drug case, his other warrants came about, and there were bonds on those warrants. I don't know too much about that. Those are not going to be anything. Those matters are not going to be anything that is going to hold him in jail because there's a bond on it. He's just going to choose not to make a bond, I'm sure, on anything until he gets this, or because he's concerned about the immigration. So should he, I don't think it's going to be the same officer. The drug case is going to be one officer, and I think different officer. So should we notify the public defender's office about the fraud cases so that they could, and I would ask that they maybe travel independently of each other if that would be easier.
So I see Officer Tate listed for the identity fraud warrant as the officer. And then the other cases, it looks like an Officer Bodron for obstructing or hindering display of license plate, forgery in the first degree, concealing ID of motor vehicle, ecstasy trafficking, and I'm assuming that's a drug case that you're referring to.
Yes, Judge. So anything surrounding that date will be my case, but it's my understanding once he got arrested for my case, other warrants fell on him for some cigarettes, or the typical buying the cigarettes at either a Costco or that type of case.
Without if, and because I think I may have done the first appearance for Mr. Taylor. Is there another person that was arrested at the same time? Or close in time?
What happened? My
understanding, I don't have a co-defendant on this one.
When they went to pick up Mr. Taylor's vehicle, when they went back to the police department, his family, friends, cousins, something, to pick up his vehicle that had been seized, that the individual that went to pick up the vehicle was also charged with whatever happened at the Costco or the Sam's or whatever that particular case was, which falls on a different date than my case.
Okay. If it's a case that I'm thinking of, it was like a bunch of cigarettes were purchased and somebody used either a fraudulent check or something that
maybe a fraudulent account, like saying that they maybe something along the line saying that they own a vape shop and therefore that they're authorized to buy without paying the sales tax. maybe something along that line, Judge.
Okay. Okay, I'm clear. I'm clear now on that, but
So Judge, I still, at this point, I don't know how, how we're going to proceed on this one, because I don't think the Public Defender's Office I don't think they were aware of anything regarding Mr. Talley. Officer Bodron is on most of the charges. Officer Tate is on one of the fraud charges, and I've just been informed. We're checking with Bodron to see if he can testify to Tate's also. I'm not sure, but Tate is on his way to the hospital now for an emergency with his grandson. So he would not be available at this point. But again, I don't think the Public Defender's Office had noticed that they were supposed to be representing Mr. Talley on any of the charges. And so,
yeah, my understanding from the last time, Ms. Rockwell, was that you were representing him on whatever he's charged with. But I do understand your position of not getting hooked in and having to save the world for $5. I do understand that.
And so,
go ahead.
Would it be helpful, Judge, and I don't want to utilize a breakout room if I don't have to, would it be helpful for Ms. Freeman and I to figure out if we can, in fact, separate the two cases and figure out what cases are mine? I still would love a lab report on my case, because I'm hoping it's not going to be contraband, obviously. But there are other matters. I'll stand down because you've got me for the rest of the day. I was at the dentist, but I'm done. So I'll stand down so we can figure out how we should proceed. But again, I don't, a waiver and a bond on my contraband case is really not going to help me out enough. I'd rather just stick around and try to see if we can pray for a expedited lab report on the.
Well, and Judge, I'm going to say this, and then I think we certainly need to move on with the calendar. I can't speak for the GBI with the lab. I don't know when those results are going to be. So I don't know. I wouldn't have a response regarding that. And just as normally when lab results come in, those are handed over during discovery, which is certainly not something we do at this point. I understand Ms. Rockwell's concern in this case. And I think after the last time, and we've been communicating, is really, I think, she would be in communication with the narcotics officers on this case. And so until something comes back saying that it wasn't narcotic, and Ms. Rockwell knows this, the state isn't going to be dismissing anything. And so, I guess we'll wait to the end of the calendar and then to see how to proceed on it, because I'm not sure how how they want to proceed today.
Ms. Freeman, somebody has a medical emergency with his grandson. Is that that you needed for the fraud cases, that the cigarette cases, or is that is there an officer that's going to be?
Officer Tate is only on one charge on identity fraud. Officer Bodron is on the other fraud charges and the drug charges.
Okay, I'm ready for him today, and I can.
Well, let me ask this, and then we can move on, because we really do need to move on. Because your client has these immigration issues and matters, it would seem that it may be best to continue this.
I would not want to split the cases up, Judge. And so what I would ask is, because Tate is on the identity fraud, Bodron is on the other charges. Bodron has stated that he has a general knowledge of Tate's case, but not 100%. And so I would rather have both. like I said, Officer Tate has this medical emergency, and so I'm asking the judge just to go ahead and reset it. And we could just do, if the public defender's office is going to represent him on the fraud charges, we can just plan to do, one big hearing instead of, because I don't want to split the cases up.
Right. Go ahead, Ms. Rockwell. No,
I understand.
That's what I was thinking, because if we're going to have a prelim on the other charges, because the same officer is on the drug charge that's on the other charges, except for the one that Officer Tate is on, then we should just keep it all together and deal with it and give the public defender's office an opportunity to be able to speak to Mr. Talley about
That's perfect. Yeah.
the other charges.
Do we have a reset date?
Miss Mary, what's my next prelim? Do you have that?
Hold on a second.
It looks like it may be the first week. No, let's see. Looks like June 27th. Be the next day that I'm doing preliminary hearings.
Yes, correct.
That's fine, Judge.
That's fine, Judge.
Okay, so we're going to continue this case to June 27th. And I'm going to have to do an order appointing the public defender on the other charges. And you said you're only on the one ecstasy charge.
Well, I'm on the arrest for that date. The offense that occurred on that date on the drug case. My understanding is that the other case that you're sending to the public defender is from a totally separate incident date, but maybe the warrants didn't hit until he was arrested for my case. So do you want Cheryl and I to caucus separately from this calendar to figure out exactly what warrant you need to send to the public defender's office?
Well, Renee, it's not Judge sending it to the public defender's office. What has to happen, and Ms. Davis, I think, will, if it's anything that they need to do, Ms. Davis will step in to see if he qualifies or, what they have to do.
Because I'm already appointed to the court, to the public defender's office. And that
Say
he was
again?
appointed to the public. I see that he was appointed to the public defender's office already, that he was appointed when he got arrested.
Right, but I think, well, and Ms. Davis, and I say this, let's finish the call of the calendar and then check with Ms. Davis to see what needs to happen for the public defender's office to be, I guess, reassigned to that one, to those charges.
Okay, I'm gonna stand down and just listen in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Thank you so
All right,
much.
thank
And you
you.
got my message about Miss Pass, right?
Right.
Me or, oh, Miss Freeman?
Right. She said Ms. Pass is going to be logging in soon. She was on another Zoom.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thank you. And we'll stick a pin in that and figure it out later. Position 104, State of Georgia versus Jasmine Thomas.
That was consent bond previously done.
Thank you. Position number 105, State of Georgia versus Mong Ivan Villa Alta.
Right, Judge, that was a consent bond I forwarded to Your Honor the other day. I haven't gotten a signed copy back, but that was a consent bond that was done between myself and Attorney Joseph Todd.
Okay.
Do you need me to resend it, or you?
No, I haven't touched the stuff that I got yesterday. And Monday was a holiday. So I'll go back through my email and,
Okay.
and see. Position number 106, State of Georgia versus Michael Washington.
The state's ready, and that's a co-defendant to April Barrow.
And that may be a way beyond. I need to double check with Mr. Washington.
Okay. Position number 108, State of Georgia versus Natalie Waters.
Judge, this is the co-defendant to Brian Morton. Officer is on annual leave through June 4th. I did send a bond recommendation to Attorney Brandon Lewis, but if we can't get it resolved, we would ask that it be rescheduled.
Okay, I saw Mr. Lewis.
Yes, he was on. He's in another court also, Judge, but he'll be returning when he finishes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Position 111, State of Georgia versus Gerald Wheeler.
Judge, this is with Officer Fleming. And there are two Wheelers, Gerald Wheeler and Jason Wheeler. So the same announcement, Officer Fleming is on annual leave through June 6th. And so if we can't get them resolved, we would ask that they be rescheduled.
Okay.
Mr. Wheeler advised that he wanted to hire his own attorney.
Okay.
So we need a continuance on that case.
Okay. And that was Mr. Gerald Wheeler, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
Okay.
Your Honor, I have the other Mr. Wheeler. I'd just like some time with him to determine if he wants to take the offer that the state has given him.
Okay, and that's Jason Wheeler.
Yes, Judge.
And
Okay.
Judge, can Gerald Wheeler, is that going to be on the 27th as well? Or another date?
I would prefer it to be on the 27th.
Okay.
I try
That's
not
fine.
to. Okay, I try not to put my mess on other judges.
No, that's fine. That should be enough time for him to hire his own attorney.
Okay. All right. Position 118, State of Georgia versus Christopher Williams.
The state's ready, and that's the co-defendant to Demetrius Gaines.
Judge, this is Stan Schoolcraft. I would request a continuance so I have some time to talk to my client and stuff. This was one of those cases that I got late.
What's your position, Ms. Freeman?
Judge, I don't have an objection with that. I know Ms. Hill represents Demetrius Gaines, and so I'm not sure if she has an objection. Of course, we always like to keep the cases together, but yeah, I never have a objection when the defense counsel requests a continuance.
Okay, Ms. Hill.
Yes, Judge. This has been quite the continuance on this case, and Mr. Gaines is actually quite anxious to get this hearing over with for at least the reason of having some finality. I understand the state wants to keep the cases together. However, I think that Mr. Gaines' hearing could be conducted just fine without having the co-defendants hearing at the same time.
And your announcement was a hearing.
Yes.
And Judge, I will say this, that Mr. Gaines, this case isn't what's holding him there. He has an open murder case, actually two different cases in Clayton County.
Okay. I may be inclined, Ms. Freeman, to move forward on Mr. Gaines today. But I'll make that determination after we're done.
That's fine, Judge. And even if like I said, it's just always for judicial economy, but even if the cases are continued to next week or in 2 weeks, they don't have to be the 27th, but I don't know how much time Attorney Schoolcraft would need, but with this type of case, with the allegation and the actual victim is an inmate, we would want to do just one hearing.
Judge, if you wanted to continue it just to 1 week, that would be enough for me.
That would be fine with me too, Judge.
Okay, now it's from
For
you,
1
Ms.
week,
Hill.
yeah. Yes.
So maybe it's next Wednesday.
Was this the case where it was like 6 or 7 people arrested?
No, that's a different one. That one's coming up. That's a different one. You know, Judge, there have been several instances with incidents with inmates. So, but that's a different case.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Position number.
So is that going to be next Wednesday, Judge, or?
Miss Mary, would you place Mr. Gaines and Mr. Williams on next week's prelim calendar? Looks like it's going to be Judge.
Back to my desk.
Okay. Mr. Gaines and Mr. Williams off this calendar. Can you place them on next week's felony prelim calendar, either on the 6th or the 8th? It looks like Judge George is going to be doing those calendars next week.
Christopher Williams.
Christopher Williams and Demetrius Gaines, they're co-defendants.
Okay, I'll put it on the 6th. I mean on the 8th.
Okay.
Thank you.
Did she say the 6th or the 8th? I'm sorry.
The 8th.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Position 120, State of Georgia versus Rashard Wilson.
State's ready.
Rhonda Hill for Mr. Wilson. That will be a hearing, Judge Gardner.
Okay. Mr. Walker, what case are you on?
Judge, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing well.
Well, Judge, I tried to do what I often do is contact Ms. Freeman, but you all got her in court, so she can't talk to me. She normally talk to me. Judge, I was hired like maybe 6:30 a.m. this morning. My phone was ringing like oh heck. You have a Miles Haggerty and a Mackenzie Haggerty, I think, on the prelim calendar today.
I do.
We would not be prepared to go forward today. I haven't even been able to come down to do an inch of appearance, which I will do, and file a motion for a bond. Is there a particular date that you all have them set down for a bond hearing?
Well, these are armed robbery charges, Attorney Walker, and so your motion for bond has to be filed in Superior Court.
Okay.
But there, I did have bond recommendations on them. If you want to go to a breakout room.
Oh yeah, you know I will, Cheryl. So listen, when you get ready for me, I'm gonna sit here and wait on you because I appreciate you just even considering me, Judge. Okay. So I'm here.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. And for
Judge, if I could clear something up with Mr. Walker, is he going to represent Miles Haggerty as well?
Yes. Hold on.
So that, and it looks like I have my notes, co-defendant to Mr. Jackson and Mr. Brooks.
Yes, Judge.
Okay, so I am going to allow at the end of the calendar, I'm going to place you, of course, in breakout room number 1. Ms. Freeman, I'm going to place you and Mr. Walker in a room together. Then I'm going to place the Mr. Pleasant or Miss Pleasant, Mr. Rogers, and Miss Davis. And Mr. Williams, are you with the Public Defender's Office also?
No, Your Honor, I was hired to represent Mr. Junior Brooks, so I also need to speak with Ms. Freeman. I guess Mr. Walker is going to be representing the co-defendant or a couple of the co-defendants. So if the case is going to be continued, which is what I'm hearing probably, I just need to speak with Ms. Freeman as well.
Okay, and let me ask,
Judge, and did you call Yarborough, the last case on the calendar?
Not yet, not yet.
Oh, okay. Okay.
State of Georgia versus Darius Yarborough.
The state's ready.
Okay. And
Honor, that at last check, that was gonna be a hearing.
okay. Mr. Lewis.
Good morning, Judge.
Good morning. How are you doing?
Good. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Miss Freeman relayed that you were in another courtroom. What's your announcement as it relates to Natalie Waters?
Judge, if I can actually speak to Ms. Waters, there's been a bond negotiation that's been offered, so that may be a waiver. I just need to speak with her.
Okay. All right, so that's gonna well, let me say this. That completes the call of the calendar. Is there anyone that expected to hear their client's case called that was not called? Okay, so what I'm gonna do, Mr. Walker, you're gonna have to wait. I'm gonna place Mr. Williams in the breakout room number 1 with Miss Freeman. I'm gonna place Miss Pleasant, Mr. Rogers, Miss Hill, and Miss Davis in the breakout room with the jail. And that'll be breakout room number 2. And then when Mr. Williams is done speaking to Miss Freeman, I'm gonna place Mr. Lewis in the room to speak with Miss Freeman. Well, no, you said you need to speak to your client.
Yes, sir.
So when the public defenders are done speaking with their clients, I'll place you in a room to speak to your client. You got one client. Miss Schoolcraft, you drop the client down from, I think, 6 to 5 now with Mr. Walker coming on. I'll place you in the room after Mr. Lewis to speak to your clients. And then when everybody's done speaking, we'll get started with the hearings. So did the Clayton County Juvenile squad room.
Yes, Your Honor.
You're here. I do recall there's a juvenile client, but
Yeah,
it may
Gomez.
continue.
Gomez.
Gomez.
That's my case, Judge.
Judge, is
Okay.
that going to be a hearing or is that going to be continued?
I had asked to have it continued.
Right.
Okay, because they want to take him back to RYDC if we're not going to do anything with him today. Is that
Right,
correct?
Judge, and that's the one, Quatavius Card is represented by Mr. Rogers, and I don't believe Mr. Rogers had an objection when Attorney Schoolcraft requested the continuance.
That's
Right.
correct.
Right.
How long, Cheryl?
And Judge, if you're doing June 27th this is one, because it's a juvenile, I would definitely ask that it be placed. Even if it wasn't next week, I don't know how long Attorney Schoolcraft needs, but if it couldn't be placed on the calendar next week, then the week after.
Week after is fine with me, Judge.
And I have no objection to that. So that would appear to be the week of the 13th.
That's correct, Judge. If you can place it on the 13th.
Okay, can we do that, Miss Mary?
Give me 1 second.
It looks like Judge Case Johnson is going to be on that week for preliminary hearings. So that's Carter and Gomez.
That's correct, Judge.
Okay, so we're gonna do June 13th.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Can we be excused, Your Honor?
Yes, you may. All right, I'm creating the rooms now.
And Judge, while you're creating the rooms, if all the private attorneys can email me your entry of appearance so that I can put it in the system at least. That's Mr. Walker, Mr. Williams, Mr. Lewis, Mr. Schoolcraft.
Ms. Freeman, you know I'm a dinosaur, so it's gonna take a minute.
I'll give you 30 minutes.
Okay, I'm working on it right now.
Okay.
So that I can get it to you guys. Let me see.
Okay, so I placed Mr. Williams and Ms. Freeman in breakout room 1, and with the Clayton County Jail breakout room 2, with Mr. Rogers, Ms. Davis, Ms. Hill, and Ms. Pleasant. Am I missing anyone? Okay, I'm opening up the rooms. You all should receive the link to join into the rooms. And
you put me in one, Judge, later?
Yes, sir. You're going to be in breakout room 1.
Okay.
And Attorney Walker, I just sent you a text of the recommendation, so you can look at that while I'm going to the breakout room now with Melvin Williams.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
So at the jail, you should have received the link for breakout room number 2. So when they're out, Mr. Schoolcraft, I'm gonna place you in, speak with your clients. And then I'm gonna place when the time comes, Mr. Lewis and Mr. Walker, in separately with Ms. Freeman. So I will be here in earshot, but I'm gonna turn off my camera and my audio.
Judge, I'm gonna call you.
Thank you.